Welcome to a new episode of our podcast DasSeriensprechzimmer. My name is Ricarda, and I was given the chance to speak to the new Marvel stars, Rish Shah and Iman Vellani, who star in Marvel's new show, Ms. Marvel. And now let's just delve into the interview and hear what they have to say about their debut in the MCU. So I was wondering about your first impression of the MCU, because when the first Marvel movie came out, you must have been pretty young. What was actually the first movie that you have seen, and what was your impression back then? And how was it to enter that world now that you're a grown-up?
I cannot remember a single thing from my 6-year-old self. I'm sure I liked Iron Man. It's my favorite movie right now. I mean, I grew up with the MCU, and a lot of my friends were guys growing up, and then I had an older brother, so that definitely had an impact on me. And then like 7th grade, just something clicked and I was so obsessed. It was like the only thing I ever talked about, only thing I did my English essays on, everything was Marvel. And then my high school is across from a comic book shop, and I would like just read a lot more Invincible Iron Man because Iron Man's my favorite character and I needed a lot more of him in my life. And so read a lot of that, then found Ironheart, and then I found Kamala because she was on the cover of one of the Ironheart comics, and fell in love with Ms. Marvel. And so that's where we are. It's surreal. I can't even, I've been trying to figure out how to put it into real, proper, nice sounding words, but it's hard because, you know, no one had imagined this. I came from a small little town in Ontario, and now I'm doing interviews about a TV show that I'm a part of. And so it's really crazy. And I'm so thankful that Marvel trusts me with this character that I love so much and that so many people, you know, love in the comics. And so yeah, I'm excited to see the response.
I was wondering what role Kamala's Muslim and Pakistani heritage actually plays in her discovery of her powers. Are the powers somewhat related to that, or is it just a backdrop?
Well, I don't know. No, but we do definitely use Kamala's background and her roots to develop her as a character. And I think I personally went on a very similar journey to Kamala, you know, of self-discovery and reconnecting with your roots. It's something that I felt very disconnected from growing up, and just being a part of the show and working with so many incredibly talented South Asians and Muslims. I could not be prouder to be Muslim and Pakistani and all the other things that people would label me as. But it's such a warm feeling, and we kind of use Kamala's family as her rock and support system throughout this entire, you know, journey that she goes on, because it's so important to showcase children of immigrant parents who are proud of their culture and have that tight-knit relationship with their family. I came from that, and you know, my family have been so supportive throughout this entire thing. And so yeah, I think it's also, you know, how many times do we get to see both parents alive in the MCU? Yeah, but it's great, and we really get to dive deep into her roots.
And in what way does your character, Kamala, relate to you, Iman? Are you somewhat similar to each other, or are there any character traits that you can relate to?
Oh, we're basically the same person, except my Carol Danvers is Tony Stark. But yeah, I mean, it was very cool. We both come from, you know, immigrant families, and I mean, I grew up in Canada, and my family moved to Canada when I was 1 year old, so I don't have much memory of Pakistan and growing up there. But yeah, it's very cool to kind of reconnect with that side of my culture. It's something I kind of tugged under the carpet for a very long time, and just hanging out with people like Rish and on set is so wonderful, because I didn't really have a lot of brown friends growing up, and so this was just, I don't know, it was a very shared experience for all of us, kind of seeing Kamala evolve as a character and you know, accepting who she is and all the things that make her her.
So a question about representation, because both of you actually come from brown families and Muslim heritage. How did this feel for you yourselves to be part of such an important project where so many people will see this as a kind of a representation for their culture? And I personally, I'm not coming from that cultural background, but I felt like it was done very carefully and it felt good and it looked good, definitely. But how did it feel for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that you saw it in a positive light. I mean, it was definitely approached in that way. And for example, you mentioned the code switching there. That's something we both have grown up around. You know, I grew up in a family where my parents are talking in Gujarati or Hindi half the time. And so the fact that that in itself is represented through Kamala's family is so special to be able to see. And even the music, as you say,
Yeah,
you know, that's such a key factor.
it's a wonderful mix of, you know, just modern American culture mixed with like how immigrant children see, you know, Bollywood and you know, Pakistan and all of that. And honestly, just watching like Nakia in Eid say Eid Mubarak with the most beautiful Arabic accent makes my day every single time I watch it. It's like the little things like that that really make our show, you know, so unique. And honestly, specificity is why it's so real, is because, you know, every time you see brown people in Hollywood, they're so generalized, because you cannot represent 2 billion Muslims and South Asians in one character. That's impossible, and our show can't do that either. But we've told one specific story about one specific girl and one specific Muslim family, and hopefully this just opens doors for more people to tell, you know, their specific stories.
So one part of the pilot that I really loved was the cosplay contest that you joined. And I was wondering if either of you, Iman or Rish, ever tried that in real life yourselves.
Well, Iman has definitely tried that cosplay in real life.
Yeah, my grandma and I sewed my Miss Marvel cosplay when I was 15. So I still have that somewhere in my closet. But yeah, it's crazy. I like fully manifested this into existence.
Did you actually go to a convention with
No,
that?
I was so annoyed because I made it for Fan Expo in Toronto, but I couldn't go. It was in September and it was in a really awkward time. But I did wear it to Halloween that year.
The most I've done isn't making my own costume, but wearing the Avengers. What's the suit called that they travel in Endgame? The white. Yeah, the nanotech. The nanotech. Like, there was these jumpers which I just bought online and went to the cinema at like midnight. That's as close as I've got, but I'll have to cosplay soon.
So, final question. Knowing Marvel, there is usually at some point some kind of crossover. So what would be your dream crossover character from all the MCU?
You know what? If I could pick anyone, it would probably be like one of the Guardians. I think it would be so funny, Kamala interacting with Rocket or the talking tree. Like that would make my day. And Kamala just brings out so much life out of the other people she's on screen with, and I think that would be really fun. It won't happen, but we can dream. It could. It's not like we shot the show. But yeah.